Brian Snitker was recently on Foul Territory, which is on YouTube. You can find the full interview. But one of the main talking points was that he doesn't necessarily like the new MLB playoff format, which they introduced 2 years ago, featuring 6 teams, first-round buys. Obviously, the Braves have struggled, but they're not the only top team that have struggled. Really, the only team that has had any success of those top seeds has been the Houston Astros, and they just seem to be a team that it doesn't matter what you throw at them, they're going to perform in the postseason. When you look specifically in the National League at the Braves and Dodgers, they both have had first-round buys in the first 2 years of the playoff format, and they've won a combined 3 games. Now, that's 2 teams that have won like 400 games over the last 2 seasons combined, and they've gone a combined 3-12.
Yeah.
3-12. The Dodgers won 1 game against the Padres the first year. Then they got swept by the Diamondbacks. The Braves obviously lost 3-1 both times to the Philadelphia Phillies. But here's the thing. It ain't changing. And the Braves aren't going to try to all of a sudden lose the division so they can have that wild card round. So they're going to have to figure this damn thing out.
Yeah, I think that baseball is a much different sport than, say, football, where like that first round bye in football where only one team in each conference gets it is incredibly valuable for injury's sake. And I'm not saying baseball has less injuries, but over 162 games with only one significant break, you get into a groove. And then when you get into that groove and at the very last moment you go, okay, now you're off for a week. And then you're expected, the Braves tried to do those simulated games to try and not take that vacation like they kind of did in the first year. It seemingly didn't work. It is a big deal for a team. It is a like routine based game where you kind of get in ebbs and flows of it. And so when something like this disrupts it, it is worth noting that it could be a potential reason as to why. Obviously, the first NLDS, everybody was like, just one. We'll see. 2 years in a row, exactly the same way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that.
I don't want to make excuses. That kind of came off sounding like an excuse. It's not an excuse, but it kind of,
I mean, Brian Snitker is sitting here making an excuse. So you're not necessarily even saying these are the direct from the horse's mouth of the Braves manager. And yes, I definitely think there's weight to it. This is something that I actually talked about. I talked about profusely when you talk about the Dodgers winning all their divisions way out in September back in the day, and they would always struggle in the postseason. And then you look at the Braves in 2021, they kind of were playing playoff baseball from August all the way to the end of September and then into the playoffs, and then they go on that run. There's something to be said about getting those kind of jitters out of the way. And I think that's a huge, huge benefit to the teams that are in the wild card round beyond just the fact that your offense gets cold and you haven't seen velocity. I just think playing under the lights, playing under that pressure, getting some good momentum going into that is a huge advantage in baseball. I thought this was the case for the team that played the 1-game wild card play-in, just the 1 game. Now you get 2 or 3 games. I definitely think it's an advantage. But like, as I said, it's something that the Braves are going to have to deal with. I think they're going to win this division by 10 plus games. I think they're going to win the next 5 straight divisions. So they're going to be in this position year after year after year. And it really doesn't matter what we complain about or what the thing is, because I don't think MLB is eager to change anything right now. Maybe they do along the line. But the fact of the matter is they're going to have to deal with this. They're going to have to overcome this. And if they don't, we're going to be sitting here talking about the same thing every single offseason.
I mean, to kind of counter that, 22, they would chase down the Mets. That last series, though, the very last series was kind of a nothing burger. That last series against the Mets, we were there all 3 games. It felt like postseason baseball there. So,
you get a week off.
But then you get that week off. That is important. But I just, I think first of all, if we want to, I have a bigger gripe with day week postseason games than I do the actual week off. Like in terms of just being a fan of baseball, where like I buy a ticket for $300 when they open, then they release the times and it's Wednesday. The Braves play Wednesday at 1 p.m. and now the tickets in value have dropped, in half sometimes. That's a bigger problem to me than the week. They've got to figure out a better way. Obviously, the MLB, it feels like they just don't even care about their own product, not maximizing viewership, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, I mean, I've said that a million times.
I mean, what are they doing?
There's a few things that they made a lot of great changes.
Yes,
I think they'll continue to tweak the changes. Hopefully, they get rid of those daytime playoff games.
It's terrible.
But as far as the playoff format, I mean, Rob Manfred talked about it. He said, we'll overview the playoff format last year, but he kind of likes the fact that 2 6 seeds from the National League and this kind of Cinderella story exists in baseball. And I think a lot of guys do. Unfortunately, the Braves aren't one of those teams because it's not a Cinderella story when they make it. Coming up after the break, we're going to get into some Falcons draft talk, some surprising news from the NFL Combine.